Welcome everybody to the Bridon League playoffs as we finally have reached this stage after playing more or less 5 groups. We are here, it's going to be Xantic or Little Busters forever going up against xGame. xGame, they are there with, let's say, just the same lineup as they were playing with yesterday. Of course they are having a couple of different stand-ins. Sometimes it's Tomash, sometimes it's Bignum. Vlad though has been there for them mostly throughout the entirety of Bridon, I believe. As for Xantic, I think they have 2 stand-ins that haven't played with them all the time, but they've had like one different player each freaking game almost. In any case, we're HeflaTV, your English coverage. I'm Coucher, and I'm gonna be joined by Mike Loris, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We'll be doing a lot better once FN actually decides to load into the game. But yeah, Xantic or Little Busters, they've been having a couple of issues. They've been performing pretty well in games, but I think they just need to like cut the sodium out of their diet because it's starting to leak out a little bit. It's resulted in a couple of game cancellations and stuff like that. And if I was Xantic, I would take every opportunity I can to practice up against the likes of basically Unknown or whoever else they decided to cancel the previous games with. But they're here anyway, and X Game is pretty staunch competition.
Yeah, X Game in specifically yesterday, they were looking pretty good. Still did lose up against Balkan Bears, but then again, Balkan Bears, they're kind of on a hot streak at the moment, I guess. But definitely should be a pretty good game. I mean, Little Busters Forever, they, I think, have been the more or the most surprising team throughout this entire pretty much event, I think.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a team that is relatively unknown, not basically unknown, and then they just do a decent job in their group, not destroy it by any means, but get through, and then they perform decently afterwards. And I mean, you could expect here, teams like basically unknown, like BBC, to just plow through everyone because that's just kind of what they do. But I mean, they had a good run so far, Little Busters, and they have to, as you said, go through 2 best of 3s or 1 best of 3 to actually make it to the next part, and then another best of 3, and then another best of 3 to actually, or best of 5 to win. So they have quite a few games to go through, and that's all going to happen within the next couple of days, actually. So stay tuned for that, guys. As soon as this game could get underway, maybe we could start talking about this game. But who do you think is going to have the initial edge just by past performances?
I think X Game still should be like maybe slightly more. I mean, it's hard to say X Game. You cannot call them stable to be honest because their performance just goes up and down as well. But I still have to favor X Game coming into this.
Yeah, I think that's probably where the safe money is at. If Xantic were at their roster that they've been playing with the previous couple of days, I would actually say Xantic are looking a little bit stronger in general. They pull out some really weird stuff. They tend to get a little bit over aggressive, and that usually is the death of them. But man, with a kind of random roster of 2 stand-ins, I don't think I could favor them. It's like you're working with too many X factors.
Yeah, unless I'm completely mistaken, I think Oxen was there yesterday at least. So,
Oh, really?
but that was only like the 1 or maybe 2 games that they played, or even then, I'm not sure if he played. I just saw the name somewhere. I myself didn't cast the game, but he might have been there for like 1 game. But even so, it's just definitely. I mean, to miss the first games I saw of Little Busters Forever in the first group stage, they almost won the games. They got off to a great start and kind of failed in the mid-game decision making. Of course, it was really nice to see them improving on that, just game in, game out pretty much every single game, taking something from the previous one, learning from their mistakes somewhat, but like you said, they still have some just edges to kind of iron out. But finally, FN has made it in, man. That must have been like a computer restart or something, because there's no way the loading screen was that long.
Hey, that's only the first time that's going to happen, though, and probably the last time also, just because sometimes you got to load game assets or something, other technical terms that I'm pretty sure make sense, but maybe not. But we're in the draft right now, and well, we'll see how this is going to shape up. We already have a weird ban in the Omni Knight. It's been, uh, I think, BBC that have been running the Omni Knight lately, although Little Busters have been running some pretty weird action shenanigans with the likes of Abaddon, Dazzle. You could throw an Omni Knight in there, and you could probably make it work also.
Yeah, Axe has definitely been one of the favorite heroes for the Little Busters, but Omni Knight, it can be strong, but is it kind of a specific ban? Are there certain heroes that XK might want to draft that just 100% do not want to deal with the Omni Knight?
Well, really, Omni Knight, his job is to shut down everything, right? Like it's kind of like a silencer, except a little bit more responsive. So, as far as the picks that Omni Knight completely shut down, there are a hell of a lot of them because most heroes want to do some magic damage, most heroes want to do some physical damage. The pool that's fine with not doing either is so slim. So as far as that's concerned, not really. Next game, the only thing I could see about this, if it's not a respect ban, is that they're planning on grabbing a crowd control light lineup, but Little Busters can pick up like a Storm Spirit, an Ember Spirit, a Puck, all these other heroes that demand crowd control. So I'm pretty sure it's just a respect ban towards the aggressive early game of Little Busters.
Yeah, and funny enough, Little Busters do ban out the X themselves, of course. They had the second pick, so it would have been kind of likely for xGame to go for it. X is definitely a first pick worthy hero. But IO was the choice instead, so Little Busters, they will have plenty of time to possibly ban out the IO partner, but what do they start with? Is it like Vengeful Spirit plus something that we see so often?
Yeah, I would go with like a Disruptor or something like that. Vengeful Spirit is pretty good versus the IO. You don't really want to pick IO. You don't really want to pick up Vengeful Spirit Disruptor as your first two picks, as that kind of pigeonholes you into how you're going to be laning things. You really don't have many options as far as offensive laning. So grabbing one of those support heroes, I think, up against this IO is going to be pretty good. But XGame, they have had the IO banned out from them in the past couple of games, and they do have a pretty mean one. So it's probably not going to be their IO partner within the next pick, but down the line, you know, hopefully it's going to be that CK, but it's never CK.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm always hoping for as well, but just goddamn teams never want to make it happen. Tiny, of course, probably the most popular combination, but do you think XK might they even go for like the Tiny straight out as the secondary pick, or will they wait it out?
I mean, they might. I'm pretty sure Mantis was standing in for Album Sheet, I want to say, yesterday in some other tournament, and he was playing that Tiny. So it's obviously a combination with IO that is probably the most textbook, and Mantis does know how to play Tiny guys, so there's no problems there. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him do that up against Magnus. There's no huge pressing need for a Tiny just yet, but that's certainly not how I expected Little Busters to respond to this IO. It seems like they're kind of staying the course, but Mag is a hero that is very rarely prioritized nowadays.
Give us a Darkseer now as well. Maybe not as a secondary pick, but if Little Busters went for a Darkseer on top of the Magnus, I would just be the happiest man ever, man. All in all, I don't care about the Magnus as much, man. I just want to see more Darkseer, but Magnus, definitely a hero for those flashy plays. So we might be seeing those, but secondary pick might still be that Disruptor, for example. Definitely good to follow up that reverse polarity, easy kinetic field timing plus the static storm to follow. And of course, like I already mentioned, Disruptor is excellent against IO, so we'll see what the secondary pick will be, but I guess they might even go for whichever core hero. I mean, any kind of core pretty much can make good use of the Empower.
That's another way to deal with the IO. You don't really respond to the glimpse, or not the glimpse, the relocation as much with the Ancient Apparition, but you more so respond to the fact that Tether does offer whoever the IO is partnered with an insane amount of health regeneration. So Ancient Apparition, not exactly the straight up counter, but he does do a pretty good job, and this is going to dissuade xGame from going for several other of those healing heroes. So no Dazzle is on the table for them, and no Abaddon. Don't really know if that was on the table in the first place, but certainly not an option now. And xGame, clearly going to go for that IO Tiny combination straight up. Looks like that is the combination that they favor the most. Otherwise, they would have just left the Tiny in the pool. So they're going to grab that, and they're probably going to be pretty happy about it. So far, Little Busters don't really have an amazing counter to this IO Tiny, and it's unlikely that they will, as with the Magnus, you generally want to have a melee hero to get cleave value, but melee heroes just get brick-walled by the craggy exterior. So BKBs are a necessity, and then you have this whole issue where you have to get the BKB to fight, and if you don't, you're going to get mauled to death. It's not the cleanest for Little Busters. Maybe they're going to go for something like a Medusa or Gyrocopter to get around that.
Yeah, both of them might be fine for sure. I mean, with the reverse polarity, easy setup for cooldowns as well, for example, if need be. Homing missile builds for a Gyrocopter can do quite a lot of damage. I mean, IO doesn't have the greatest health pool to begin with. But we'll see. At the moment, Little Busters, they haven't really locked themselves in at all. Magnus can play any lane pretty much if he really wants to. They just, as a support, I still think Disruptor might be fine-ish, but they're going for a Terror Blade. I mean, is this to rat things out, or...
Can you rat out a Tiny IO? Is that like a thing that you can do? Because I don't think that's actually possible. As nice as it is to be able to pressure the lanes, you won't be able to fully commit to the towers. Your illusions will do eventually enough damage to kill off a tower, but that'll take a very, very long time. And while you're doing that as Terrorblade, Tiny and Io are just going to be farming in the jungle or a different lane or something like that. So Terrorblade is kind of a good hero versus Tiny late game that he'll have a lot of armor, but okay. No darks here. I think this is better though.
Man, the twist. God, I cannot recall which team played the Pudge. Was it Black? No? I have no idea. Some team
I don't know.
played Pudge a lot, like Pudge and Lina. How the hell can I forget that? Well,
Oh, you know what? I know what you're talking about. Let me just look at the list of teams once again. Let's see if I can remember. Um,
okay, so just a second. I thought it's Yellow... No, it wasn't Yellow Submarine, was it?
I think it was Yellow Submarine.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Yellow Submarine, okay. They went like... Out of the, I think 6 games that they played at least like 4 Pudges, I think.
It was something like that. Like they just ran it with Lena every single time, and it worked. Like that's the really scary thing. A level 1 hook now is, I mean, the range is really what matters. That's really the quintessential change for the puck. If you land that 1,000 range hook, it's not that hard, and the amount of displacement it offers is huge. But aside from that, so far Little Busters are kind of ignoring the tiny IO problem, and well, Phoenix, Pudge, Terrorblade as their last 3 heroes is not exactly going to be a substantial answer to that. But it is certainly a very interesting lineup. Support Pudge incoming?
Wow, that... I mean, support Pudge, it's not that bad if the player is good at it. Of course, early on you still have to, even with the buffs to the range of the hook, have to still take that into account, but I guess there's a tiny chance of even a support Phoenix. But to win a support Pudge might be... I don't even know which would be better, support Pudge or support Phoenix, because both of the heroes aren't the greatest with farm, but I'd probably rather have Phoenix with farm than Pudge, I think.
Yeah, and I think Pudge's support is just less bad overall. Like, he will have that hook, and as I said, displacement effects, very unique. Really, it's only Disruptor who has it, who's very commonly picked up. Phoenix will do fine in lane, whereas Pudge will have some problems. So the laning is going to be awkward for Little Busters, but you know what? They have a lot of physical damage in the Terrorblade Magnus. The Phoenix's Sun is going to offer the Terrorblade a lot of cover, and that's something you don't really see every day. Just, Phoenix covering the Terrorblade with Supernova. Yeah, you might be able to crack the egg, but while that's happening, Terrorblade is just killing you. We're kind of been ignoring xGame because they've been going for a very vanilla strategy. They have the IO Tiny, going for a Brewmaster for lane control, then a Lion in response to the Terrorblade, just getting that Finger of Death on board, going to be invaluable. Going for a Broodmother last, however, this is something that Little Busters can punish. They have a lot of ways to deal with these spiders.
Well, definitely Magnus Shockwave, probably one of the better ways. Low cooldown, rather spammable ability as well. But even if they have those ways to deal with the spiders, will they have them in the laning phase early on?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to most likely just be Bridon handling a lane by himself, and you have to have a good lane matchup there if you're actually going to deal with those spiders. So there's a chance that Bridon's going to get, a really, really good start, and then at that point, Xantic, they might be able to throw the Magnus there, the Phoenix with the Fire Spirits, but it might just be a little bit too late. So the Broodmother is going to actually work pretty well with the IO Tiny in that xGame can feasibly push every single lane at the same time, and at the same time be rather prepared to fight. Once the webs get down to once the tier 1 towers fall, once the webs get down to the tier 2 tower line, then Broodmother's ability to jump from, let's say, top lane to mid lane doesn't take that long at all. And of course, the IO can do that instantly. So for xGame, they'll be able to reinforce very quickly with their draft.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty solid draft. I mean, all the picks kind of complement each other, and just having the Lion up against Terrorblade is always going to be excellent. So really nicely drafted by xGame, I think. But Xantic, just support Pudge, at least what we expect to be a support Pudge. Still always kind of a curveball, no idea how it's going to work out or if it's going to work out at all. But hopefully so. But in the meantime, I did manage to scout out which freaking team played the Pudge and Lina very often. It was scary faces.
Oh.
I was like, I thought it might have been in this tournament because it started God knows what time ago, but then I was like, I remember the team who usually, they played the best of 3. They won the first game, and second game, if they won it, they went for Pudge. And I was like, wait, there haven't been best of 3s here? Something must
That was a
have been
while
wrong.
ago. It was like in the beginning of the month. So Yeah, we have a good excuse, guys. That's our excuse. It was a very long time ago. So, take credit away from Yellow Sub, give it to Scary Faces. They're the ones to actually do this, and
Man, CIS teams.
dude, they
Anyway.
do crazy shit.
Yeah, man, there's another CIS team right here just playing patch, so... But go has been given, so teams are ready. We're gonna see how exactly they're gonna lane this. But just thinking about those lanes, or the possibilities of them, who do you think will have the better of it?
Well, I just think xGame should have an edge overall. Like, they could lane the IO Tiny as a dual lane mid. They could put the Brewmaster there, and the support Pudge, if you have vision up at all, then you'll be able to stifle his threat a little bit. And aside from that, the lanes inherently for Xantic aren't really that strong. Terrorblade is fine. Magnus is fine as well, but they're not powerhouses that overwhelm their lanes. To be fair, Brewmaster isn't really that type of hero either, but the lanes from xGame aren't going to be pressured too much. Assuming this Pudge has an okay game, like he'll occasionally land a hook and whatnot, but if he does land a hook, he's going to get hexed or avalanched or clapped, and then he's just going to lose in a duel because he only has boots first. And as nice as that is to just sustain damage with the rot, you still have 0 base armor, and you will lose in a fist fight versus the Brewmaster.
Oh, most certainly. So, and we might have that fist fight, but of course it might not be one-on-one here as they're trying to go for the bounty runes soon enough. But to introduce the lineups as well, so for the side of Xantic or Little Busters Forever, Oxen will be playing the Pudge, leaving Danny Kanadeu, so Danny playing the Phoenix, as FN up on the Magnus, leaving Set JK on the Ancient Depression and Bat to play the Terrorblade.
Well, top lane rune is going to be secured by xGame. It's going to be Vlad on the IO who's going to grab that one. I actually like that move, giving it to the IO. A little more experience means a faster level 6. Reeves is going to be playing the support Lion, Stallcat on the top lane Brewmaster. This puts Mantis on the Tiny with the IO mid, and Bignum is going to be handling the Brood Mother bottom. There are 2 sentries here on the Ancient Apparition, but Ancient Apparition and Terrorblade are not heroes that can easily deal with the Brood Mother. At a certain point, the armor on Terrorblade is going to become irrelevant, as Bignum will just constantly spam in those injections, and there's not much that Bad can do about that.
Yeah, it's just all in all Brood Mother. That's like, I think one of the biggest strengths about the hero. The kind of lane presence, even if you don't dominate it, you just force your enemy supports to constantly be there, not to get to roam around, and of course just having to go for sentries and everything. But at the moment top lane, looks like Phoenix probably is the one farming, but it's a Phoenix Pudge dual lane. I can't believe it's a thing.
Well, we'll see if it's like actually a thing, because they might just get horribly stomped here. Who knows? Phoenix does have more of a core role build. I mean, he has actually real items. FN's actually going to take a lot of damage over in mid, just an avalanche toss combo. Not perfectly sequenced, but does do a lot of damage regardless. You'll have to watch out. The Phoenix has more substantial core role items, whereas Pudge, he's seemingly not going for the CS. Yeah, Phoenix has 4, so it's going to be a support Pudge who's going to be supporting a Phoenix. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows how I feel about melee supports. I'm pretty sure everyone knows how they should feel about melee supports. They have their inherent weaknesses, and Pudge occasionally will be able to bypass that with the hook. But again, you're going to be forced into a situation where you're going to hook someone in. Instantly, you're going to get disabled or hit with a lot of damage, whether it's by the spike or a hex or a clap.
FN though in the meantime might lose the first blood here. Then again, almost gained it onto Vlad, but one more punch from Mantis. Man, you do not want to feed an IO Tiny mid lane combination with Magnus, of course. Not the greatest counter there.
The exact same time, top Oxen was looking for that hook. He unfortunately missed it, so xGame were able to turn that around. But it's overall going to be first blood towards that Magnus, and Mantis getting a great early start. It's going to start out again with an avalanche toss combo. The FN Mag doesn't even have Skewer because he's been forced to go for Empower. It's usually a reasonable way to go versus another melee hero, but I don't really know if that's going to be helping him. He really wishes he had some sort of escape right now, even if it is just a level 1 Skewer.
That Empower, I mean, I can't say if it was a misclick or not, but it probably was a miss-skill in a way that he shouldn't have gone for that instead of a Skewer. I mean, this lane is just so damn deadly as it is. I mean, Avalanche Toss with the Wisp Spirits to follow. You kind of need the Skewer. I mean, I can't see a way where Empower is that necessary for him to last it.
It doesn't even give him like a last hitting edge. He has pretty much the same base damage now as Tiny, which I guess kind of does help you over towards top lane Stallcat. Gonna take quite a bit of fire damage. He will burn. Oh no, he'll live
HP.
at such low amounts of HP.
Yeah, I think I saw the number 2 there, man. That's also the hook not landing there by the Pudge, just getting a creep instead. I was so sure he's going to get hooked. I mean, he was practically in front of the Pudge. So a little bit lucky there on Stalcat, but they do survive for now. It's just Lion, although he has level 3 already, it's just having that 1-1-1 build. Hex, of course, doesn't do any damage. And Earth Spike level 1, low duration stun, kind of, as well as damage. What's his 80 damage? Yes, 80 damage, so even with the Thunderclap being there, they're not doing that much counter damage, so Xantic, they just kept on going for so long.
Hey man, Hex does do damage if you hex the rotting Pudge. The dream. The dream is real. I don't know how relevant that's going to be, but the mana drain harassment is actually going to be pretty freaking annoying. Pudge, you look at his mana pool, has enough mana inherently for one hook, and that's pretty much all he has to offer into this lane, just the hook. If you drain any of that out with the Lion, it is only a level 1 mana drain, so it's going to be very slow, and it will be very easy for the Pudge to turn around and hook the Lion, or just run out of range. Either way, though, mana, or being low on mana for Xantic's top lane is just crippling. Like, the Pudge can't do anything at that point. He's an absolutely useless hero if he can't throw a hook. He's going to look for Stalcat, though, and Stalcat's not moving. You never want to not move up against the Pudge, but even if he gets hooked, don't know if he's going to be in too much danger. It's over towards mid where FN is in a lot of trouble, and bottom lane where AA is going to get sniped by the Broodmother. That Spiderling army stacked up way too high.
Yeah, it's just Broodmother all in all, up to 20 last hits also, so he has the same as the Terrorblade does. And even though they came with sentries, of course, Bignum had one of his own, so that already helped him out. And just all the lanes, or most of the lanes, are going rather well for them, as in the meantime Phoenix taking some harassment by Stalcat. He's the one on the run. Reeves does arrive though. We'll have an Earth Spike if needed, and is he going to use it? Not yet, he's waiting for it. Oxen, he gets the hook, and suddenly he loses his own life to the tower. But kill secured them now. Oh, the Hex out. A few more right clicks. Reeves doesn't need too much, but he just can't right click with those fire spirits.
You got the last hit anyway. I love that. Like, so many creeps, they're all attacking like 0 times a second, and then Lion slowly just bashes the hit in. So Reeves a little bit perhaps slow on that disable. He of course was looking for an angle with which he could stun both the Phoenix and the Pudge. A little bit greedy perhaps, and it ended up costing the Brewmaster his life, but still Reeves gets a double. And as nice as it is to have a Brewmaster with a fast blink, he's getting the CS farm. If you also somehow balance that farm with Lion's farm and get him upgraded boots, get him a fast blink dagger, that could be just as effective, if not even more so.
Yeah, look at how close he is to that level 6 now thanks to those kills. Only half a level away, and an early Finger of Death just makes for really easy kills, especially up against a Terrorblade, for example. Just go in, Finger of Death, and Terrorblade more or less dead. It's just hero with a really horrible health pool, to be honest. But Terrorblade at the moment, he is still farming reasonably well, although Broodmother just, he has that lane on lockdown almost by now.
Being able to cut the creep wave means that any support hero that comes in is going to very swiftly die, and there's nothing that Terrorblade can do about that except for sunder his ally, and that will not be a good idea. And now Bignum's army is getting pretty substantial, so it's getting to a point where Xantic need more than one hero to go down there, and the one hero that can go down there is probably FN. But even then, man, Shockwaves can only do so much up against this Broodmother, and then you leave mid lane to, what, a Terrorblade combo up against this Tiny combo? He's gonna get a skewer backward after an RP. Mantis in a little bit of trouble, but Vlad is there with the heals. Nice 2-man spike through Badin's AGK. They'll try to go for the Ancient Apparition. Toss is there, will get the kill. Hook onto Vlad, actually, somehow that hit is going to get the kill for Oxen in the end, making it a 1-for-1 trade, but another Avalanche, couple punches from Mantis, not quite gonna be enough. He has a toss, but he's just out of range. He will toss a creep and then die to a creep, but the creep gets the Terrorblade kill. I'm sure that was all planned. It's a 2-for-2 over in the mid lane. That was very close, actually, for either side, but it's bottom lane where Phoenix is going to have to deal with the Broodmother, and we can see how well he's dealing with it. There's not too many spiders here, but it doesn't even matter. He's forced into his ultimate.
Yeah, and well, the Spiderlings now, they will get away, never mind. 2 of them get out of 4. So Broodmother not quite too fast with just microing away those creeps. Now the mid lane, oh god, Lion has his Finger of Death, wants to go on FN, possibly, maybe even gets tossed onto him by the Tiny. That's actually pretty nice to just toss into immediate Hex into Finger of Death, something along those lines. But mid lane, Xantic, they were there in more numbers than xGame, yet, I mean, the kills were even, yes, but 2 of the heroes on Xantic escaped with like less than 50 HP, I think. So it could have gone a hell of a lot worse for them, and that's just the power of the Tiny, and that's only a level 6 Tiny, with his spells not even being maxed out.
Yeah, I would say that's more so the power of the IO. Being able to offer an entire bottle throughout a fight is something that only IO could really do, and yeah, he ended up dying to that Pudge. Somehow he got tagged with that hook, but he was restoring Mantis just so darn much. And even though Mantis has gone for these power treads, so he will have additional intelligence moving down the line, his ability to get out those couple of additional skills ultimately did kill off that Terrorblade in the end, so that was completely worth it. But Vlad using that bottle and those stick charges to juice up his entire team and just keep them fighting. And if a Tiny doesn't have to worry about his mana pool, he's just so much happier.
Yeah, he just got so many tosses. I think he got at least like 3 tosses in that fight or something like that at least. Minimum 2, that's for sure. So really well done by them, Broodmother, with that Hand of Midas now ticking away also. And do you even think that will this Broodmother leave this lane before like the tier 3s fall kind of? Does he really make his base on the lane, or does he start joining the fights, maybe pushing other lanes? Like what's the plan as the Broodmother?
Man, if I was Bignum, I would go and sit in the lane at least until this tier 2 tower is either webbed up substantially or already dead. I mean, he hasn't been under any pressure, so far there's no reason to leave the lane because he can't stand in the lane. His team has been doing fine, so there's no need for him to leave the lane in order to help his allies. Therefore, you might as well stick around. And as I said before, once you get to the tier 2 towers, you'll be able to, well, jump to the hard creep camps and the medium creep camps very easily as the Broodmother, and also you'll be able to jump towards the mid lane. So the longer Bignum stays here, the more of a problem it's going to be for Xantic.
Oh, most certainly so. It's just the fact that, like you said, the rest of xGame, they can easily fight, and if the Broodmother is like, either Xantic sends somebody to deal with him, and they're in fewer numbers on the rest of the map, and xGame can just go in easily and kind of wreck them. Or, oh, Courier might be in some trouble Reeves, don't think he's gonna get it, he's just gonna go for the kill. If he gets the Hex, that's dead Phoenix, and Earthspike to start things up. No Hex even, and they're waiting for the Finger of Death, finally gets the kill, but they stood around for a little bit too long, so he dies himself, getting patched at level 6.
Yeah, the Broodmother didn't have the Spiderlings available. Soul Ring was on cooldown, so maybe a little bit miscommunication there from the xGame side, but they still kill off the Phoenix. Pudge grabbing level 6 is not really the most important. Dismember does offer a lot more to the support Pudge, but still the ability to land the Dismember is dependent on the ability to land a hook. It's very uncommon that you're going to be able to walk up and then lock down an enemy, so level 6 on Pudge isn't really going to be a huge deal, but still levels on Pudge is going to be very important for the hero. But xGame 7-4 still doing very well. Stalcat up towards the top lane. Now it's to deal with bad for now Metamorphosis, but Stalcat also does have a Blink Dagger, so he's very soon to be at full capacity. They're going to try to wrap around for this Terrorblade kill. He does not have a Sunder, so this is possible, albeit very difficult. Brewmaster splitting from very far away, looking for that Cyclone or Rock. That's good too. Bad getting beaten down by everything. And now with the Hex, the beatdown will result in a kill. Phoenix coming in a little bit too late will get thrown into the air. Purge down, he has a supernova though, so the chance of him dying very slim, although with the spike, it's possible. A couple of hits, Clap is there, and it's 2 kills for Stalcat up towards the top.
Yeah, Reeves, he was already backing off. He's like, crap, if we don't get the kill before the supernova, at least I'm far away. So he didn't even try to go in with the last right clicks himself, but just had trust in his teammate to get the Thunderclap going. And Mantis now went for a slightly later Midas of his own. Brewmaster also picks up his own Hand of Midas, so xGame, they're going to be running triple Midas with a kind of a beastly late game as it is anyway, just with having the IO Tiny, but oh, Hook, slightly missing.
Oh man, slightly missing. You could count all those near hits, but every near hit is a miss, so Xantic, they need to get this Pudge online. They need to do something, because they're falling behind in last hits right now, and that's problematic enough being up against this many Midases. I don't care who you are, you're probably not going to have superior late games because of how fast xGame are going to reach theirs, and well, Tiny with Hand of Midas is just disgustingly dangerous, so not good times for the Xantic side. They have to start making something happen. Maybe it's going to come on the back of this Blink Dagger and FN. He's not quite there, but he's close enough to represent a pretty sizable threat. By the time that's up, maybe they're going to start getting some kills with that RP, or just a Blink Skewer.
Yeah, that's definitely, maybe not entirely the saving grace, but it should propel them in the right direction at the very least, if nothing else. And Terrorblade, even though he has died twice, still like reasonable farm. Definitely you cannot compare that to xGames because they're out of this world with the farm. I mean, Brewmaster, he picked up the Hand of Midas, yet still has 1500 gold, so that Blink Dagger won't be all that far away, even though he did go for the Midas.
Yeah, so he's going to have a lot of acceleration moving forward, and Brewmaster with extra gold normally doesn't have the hugest impact in the game, but you don't really need to when you have a Tiny as your main heavy hitter, so Brewmaster going for a Vlad's or something like that, or going for any aura item ever, or just going for a Basher could be really good, but they're going to relocate down towards bottom where Bad is in a hell of a lot of trouble. Will Sunder Bignum doing a lot of damage, but the Avalanche Toss combination does just a little bit more, even though the combo didn't necessarily land correctly. Terrorblade is still very, very soft, and there's no real way to get around that.
Yeah, and just all in all, xGame getting all the farm. Brood already level 11 as well, has the level 2 ultimate, and with that ultimate, to be honest, he can
Hook
start
bot,
doing...
top. Mantis going to get caught, but Io there to heal him up just a little bit. Avalanche toss combination a little bit late. Oxen's going to die regardless, though. Actually, no, the toss fails. Pudge will die, and Vlad will be stuck in a corner. He'll die as well. Reeves stuck pretty low. Has a Finger of Death, trying to turn things around into Danny, but Shockwave through. It's going to give xGame 3 deaths, and FN showing off that Blink Dagger, man. That's the power of the Magnus, and if you can surprise the enemy, you'll be able to get that done several times. Of course, xGame now are going to be more prepared for that, and that was a very just awkwardly fumbled gank from xGame either way, but still it's Zenetic to take the edge up towards the top lane.
Yeah, so the Pudge showed that he can land a hook, and once he lands a hook, something great can happen from it, because xGame, they had to come so far out of position to try to save him. Had they had to relocate by that time, easy escape with the IO just relocating the Tiny out. Maybe died himself, but wouldn't have mattered that much. As mid lane, Vlad does come in to try to stop bad Terrorblade though with the Metamorphosis. I mean, IO by himself, not all that scary. But then again, the Spirit's still doing quite a lot of damage, man. The health pool on the Terrorblade is just god-awful.
It's like he's at half HP, but his half HP is like most heroes' third HP. Hook in the mid lane is going to, on average, hit Reeves and Vlad, but it will miss both of them. The Brewmaster has his Blink Dagger delivered, and he has a Hand of Midas, so 12-minute Blink with already a Midas is absurd amount of farm for the Brewmaster. And Xantic, they have all 5 heroes over in this mid lane, and that's probably good if they take this tower, but if they don't, then it's really bad, because look on bottom lane, there's some like horror movie level stuff going on here, because there are a lot of spiders, but Supernova being used to clear out a couple of them will give Phoenix about 120 gold, I think. Not really too sure about the numbers there, but he's going to get a lot of gold, but it is also Supernova down, so he's a lot easier to kill now.
Yeah, most certainly so, but at least he gets his mech finish now, so that's going to help him a little bit with the survivability. I think it's hard to say how many spiders. I just saw a lot of gold popping up there at one point. So still nicely done defending the tower for now, but Brood is going for the Orchid. Do you think it's the best item choice for this game, or could you have gone for something better maybe possibly?
I mean, they have answers, kind of, versus the Phoenix and the Mag, and being able to just silence a Pudge while he's dismembering, while he's rotting is pretty valuable, but the player that's most notably known for running the Broodmother, Bridon on BBC, I think pretty sure if he was playing this game, he would be saving up for an Eagle Song just to go straight Butterfly, and I think that's probably going to be a preferable build. The utility Orchid is nice, but is really unneeded as long as Xantic aren't making any serious plays.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way to be honest about it, but we'll see how it's going to work out. I guess their solo kill potential increases by a little bit just because he's silenced up, can't do anything, can't like stun you in return, and it's a small damage amp for you as well. So we'll see how well it's going to work out though. But there's a smoke from xGame. Well, the smoke already breaks online. Blink, Thunderclap will catch FN, will stop his own blink out, but doesn't want to use the Primal Split. There's the Hex, the Finger of Death. It's coming off cooldown right now, but the hook, oh god, FN, he's safe. Boulder toss top though, and with the relocate, Mantis finds him with the toss avalanche combination. Oxen now, he's the one on the run. Boulder toss maybe gonna come out. Oxen tried to run around the trees and might even succeed. Never mind, Mantis, he's still around, gets the toss, and that's just 2 for 1, only losing the Lion.
Yeah, in the meantime, Lion was chased down. Relocate back, Vlad back into bad is going to be chased down by that Terrorblade. Lots of movement speed there with the Yasha power treads, and it's going to be 2 supports going down for xGame, but they do kill off the core mag on the other end. It's a really scattered fight, but again, after all these fights, you got to look towards Bignum. What is he doing? He's killing the enemy's tier 2 tower, so now that he has Orchid is first of all a surprise to Xantic, and it can get a kill very quickly if he does keep that a surprise for his first target. But xGame, they're going to be fighting all these fights 4v5, or most of the fights 4v5, and they're doing very well. It's an even fight mid with Bignum farming / split pushing down to the bottom lane, and now the tier 3s are in trouble. Xantic can no longer afford to ignore this Broodmother. They have to make some sort of attempt at killing him, slowing him down, or forcing him to another lane. So far, none of that has been happening.
Yeah, it's just going to be that much harder now that Aghanim Scepter is finished and they're tiny as well, just because he can farm up so damn fast. xGame though, they don't have ancient stacks, so that's a little bit sad, but even so, I mean, Aghanim Scepter with a Power Treads, Magic Wand, and a Midas 15, or well, let's say 16 minutes in, all of them, they're just getting items way faster than you should, and now bad, in some trouble, Big enough, he's gonna find him, gets the Orchid as well on the correct target, and with the Insatiable Hunger, easy damage, easy kills.
Vlad on the top lane is going to get dismembered in the meantime. He'll be shockwave down. xGame have a couple heroes nearby. Phoenix going to jump up to high ground though, going to connect onto Reeves. Blink forward RP only onto Mantis, hook out onto the Phoenix as Mantis is going to follow them with that skewer. Avalanche toss though onto Pudge, almost going to kill him. Finger of Death onto the Phoenix, but he will supernova and he'll be just fine. Mantis going to die, and now they can chase forward for Reeves. Blink dagger, couple right clicks, the spike misses, and Lion is going to die as Pudge has to go back to the bottom lane. Because every single time xGame get into these fights, Broodmother is the one to benefit. But it is Tiny to die, which is pretty crucial, and of course they get the 2 supports to boot. That was a pretty well executed smoke gang from Xantic, even though it was dealing with that hill. The ability to hook people out is just showing its value right now.
Yeah, and the reverse polarity, although only landing onto one, it did prevent, I think, the Phoenix from dying. Otherwise, Avalanche just would have landed immediately, and I don't think he would have even had time to just go for that supernova, because he did get fingered also by the Lion. So definitely really nice. Looking at the graphs, even with that fight, there's still a 7,500 net worth lead for xGame. XP also 5k, so Xantic, if they can keep the pressure up like that, it's going to be excellent for them, but keeping that pressure up like that is the hardest part, and now bad, he's going to get caught. Oh god, he can't even TP out, he doesn't even have a TP, Relocate going to come in. Stalkat did take a lot of damage because of the metamorphosis, but Avalanche toss, Stalkat picks up the kill, and man, why are you hanging about that far up without a TP?
I have no idea. No, why are these 2 heroes hanging around also? These ice balls coming in. Mantis is going to dodge the hook and the ice balls. They get one final boulder onto the Phoenix. This Phoenix, though, is pretty dangerous right now with the Fire Spirits. Mantis got to look to juke out that hook. He will get chased down by said Firebird. Hook is there. He will get connected. Toss up, not towards the Phoenix. Mantis is maybe going to burn to the Solar Beam. No, he's going to get some support from Vlad. Turn things around with the Aghanim Scepter. Just going to go straight towards that Pudge. Needs another Avalanche or Toss. There's the Toss, which will kill off the Pudge. Mid-Dismember, I believe. Now Blink Clap onto Danny. He's going to die as well. Mantis is very, very tanky, and I think Xantic, just for a little while, forgot about that fact. He's at 1,700 HP, and he has 2 points in Craggy, so his armor is also pretty substantial. It's going to be him taking a lead there, and FN teleporting down towards the bottom lane will be met by an Orchid, and that is going to most likely be his death. He'll die and skewer all the way back and then just keel over. Ice Ball is going to miss, and Bignum is going to lock down this bottom lane for the rest of xGame to do literally whatever they want.
God, life is so hard if you're Xantic at the moment. It's so annoying to deal with a Broodmother, and although they do have reasonable ways to deal with him, they cannot like push out the lane too fast while the Broodmother is still around in the vicinity. They really need to do something to kill him off, but if they go for the Broodmother, if they commit like at least 2 heroes for that, suddenly xGame, like we saw now, tier 2 down, Mantis can easily do so with the Aghanim Scepter. Does he have another item coming out? Yes, a Yasha is also finished. Vlad will go for the mech next, just needs the recipe for it. Not the fastest mech, but I mean, he's one of the heroes without the Midas, so he can be excused.
And there's also 2 other substantial items on the xGame side. Reeves with the Blink Dagger, already noted how powerful that was going to be. And we have a Necro Book actually on the Broodmother, and ordinarily I would say that's probably not the build that you want to be going for a Broodmother, especially already with that Orchid. This turns her into a little bit more of a Lycan, but it is also a justifiable build given how Xantic have been playing this game. They've been leaving Broodmother alone, so I mean, she just push stuff if that's the case. And the Necro Book is probably the most cost-effective way of doing that, unless she wants to go for a Desolator, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to be doing that. The Ice Blast is going to miss in the Roshan pit. Spiderling is going to feed themselves over to the Roshan. Xantic, they can fight this with a Supernova with the RP, but really, do xGame want to force this fight? Because Bignum can just slide down to the bottom lane and push that while the rest of xGame are chilling near the Roshan pit.
Yeah, that would probably be the best course of action, I think, but they are just backing off for now. The Ice Blast did scout things out in a sense that it landed on Mantis as well as Vlad. So Vlad gonna go back home, or maybe back home. His bottle is completely empty, and without the massive regeneration coming out from the bottle, the tether suddenly isn't as effective in keeping people alive. Stalkat though might run into some trouble. Phoenix on the high ground, scouting things out. Did he see Stalkat? Nope. Nighttime vision plus of course being in the trees. Blink Thunderclap onto FN. Stalkat not gonna follow this up. Bignum, he's gonna go in now. Necro level 3, unfortunately in the stash still though.
Dude, but Brewmaster, like, in so much trouble, but he took out literally half of Mag's HP with just one combo. Now with Mantis and Vlad there, Danny is gonna be stuck up here awkwardly for quite a long time. And if you look at where Xantic's heroes are, well, they're pretty much just not on the bottom lane, and that's where they need to be right now. TP back from Phoenix, and once they see this Phoenix there, yes, now they finally do, they're going to fully commit to the Roshan fight. Or they'll just have Mantis do it by himself. I guess that's good too. no sense putting more than one hero there. More heroes to get hit by the Ice Blast RP. Vlad is going to get in there to help out a little bit, but Roshan going to be scouted way too late by the Xantic side. Bad is going to do his best to split push, but the Terrorblade, even though he is level 14, just can't really outrace the entirety of xGame.
Yeah, at the moment, if he used Metamorphosis, maybe so is bad. It's just going to TP out. No Stalker cannot really stop it, but if he had Metamorphosis, the tower would be taking a hell of a lot more damage, but then again, that's suddenly like, you have Metamorphosis, and suddenly it's on cooldown, and xGame can easily pressure high ground, I think. Of course, going high ground, xGame, I think throughout the entirety of the game, unless they win a huge fight outside the base, they should be just split pushing multiple lanes at the same time, because against Reverse Polarity, against Ice Blast, and even a Supernova, just going from one lane probably isn't the smartest idea.
That's a little bit more preferable than just all-inning in one lane. And as I said previously, xGame, they do have the draft that could split push all lanes simultaneously, and they have now the power level on the heroes to get away with that. Is Xantic going to have to take a 5v1 or something like that, or 5v2? And that's something that Xantic can win, but a 5v2 is very quickly going to turn into a 5v4 with the IO Tiny ability to reinforce, plus the Broodmother's ability to reinforce. So it's going to be a slow game for xGame, and that's pretty much just how they like to play it. And Xantic, they are going to have to make some sort of play in order to break the stalemate, in order to get onto the dire side of the map for like the first time ever.
Magnus.
They're going to smoke up towards top. Mag is looking for an angle right now, but no, there's no angle to be had. They're just going to fall back.
That was a little bit awkward there. I was so sure they're going to keep on going, especially with the Shadow Blade. The smoke breaks, you know somebody's close by, but you still have the chance to just scout with the Shadow Blade. But in general, I mean, Shadow Blade, it might be cute in a sense that, yes, it might get you like one team fight initiation or something, but not too sure how well it's going to work out just in the long run.
Well, I don't even know if the long run's going to be a problem, because Xantic, their top lane is kind of in full breach. They know that someone is invisible here. If Vlad was paying attention, his ball did connect onto FN. TP coming in from Danny, the skewer is going to miss, and everyone else is going to back off. A whole bunch of heroes up in the top lane. It's a party for both sides, but Broodmother is really the one to be partying down towards bottom. Range Rack's going to die in a couple of swipes, and Xantic, they're not even going to fight this. They're trying to go for Bignum, I guess that's okay, but your top lane is gone, guys, and that's a pretty large problem. Up towards the mid lane, Bad is going to get jumped by Reeves. Mantis relocating in as well. Get the Sunder off. Bad has a chance of fighting this one out, but he will die to the Finger of Death, and the line will survive in the meantime. Bottom lane, Stallcat going to get locked down before he could split. They lose the Terrorblade, and they lose Top Rax's. They gain a Broodmother, the Brewmaster kill. That's not worth it. That's nowhere near being worth it.
That's just as horrible as trades go almost. At least it was a trade, so there's a tiny positive there, but losing the tier 3 bottom lane, some damage on the melee Rex, of course. Melee Rex will revive. FN though, oh, had the sentry down. Man, that's how much your Shadow Blade does for you, Magnus. He's even going for a Battle Fury next as a Claymore. So I guess Battle Magnus it is. Although having the Empower, having the Cleave, it's decent-ish to deal with the Spiderlings on top of the Shockwave, I guess. But man, things are going to be hard. Mantis though, he's just going to lose his Aegis. He stuck around solo for a little bit too long. Does bring down Oxen so damn low. Magic Stick keeps himself alive for a little bit longer. But they need more skewer back onto Mantis. They might even get the kill. Toss on cooldown, Avalanche as well. Another hook there. But there's the Hex coming over onto Oxen, disabling the Dismember, and Mantis suddenly is perfectly fine. Can they kill the Phoenix Sun? They're not even focusing on it. Want to get FN instead. Sentry a little bit too late, and well, there's the Supernova gonna blow. Ice Blast to follow. That was a huge mistake by them. Just Lion started to go for the Supernova, the others backed off.
Mantis also getting a little bit too comfortable with how tanky he really is. He has Installed Cuirass and an Aghanim Scepter, so he should be feeling invulnerable, and he's really close to it. But he was all by himself, and the ability of Xantic again to displace the enemy heroes with the hook, with the skewer, means that the reinforcements for xGame, though it was coming, it wasn't coming fast enough. Also, the bottom lane wasn't pushing in at the same time. Bignum, just like, I guess coincidentally, was just not in that correct position. So a little bit of overshooting by Mantis. Stallcat over towards the bottom lane is going to get hooked out of the cold feet. That's kind of convenient, but he's going to get dismembered. He's going to have to split right now. He doesn't have the time. xGame, they're maybe getting a little bit too comfortable with how far ahead they are, because they're making some, let's say, questionable plays at this point.
Yeah, questionable to say the least, really. And suddenly there's an Aghanim Scepter on the Ancient Apparition as well. That's a huge thing, to be honest. Although relocate mid lane, they get the Hex already onto FN. Magnus should go down, and never mind that. Comes in solo because Tiny was dead after all. So nothing much will come of this. Ice Blast will land, but are they even going to relocate back both of them? Sure, looks like it, so they're safe for now. But I think they have to be a little bit careful, because if they keep on doing this, at one point suddenly Terrorblade might be pretty scary. I mean, at the moment, there's still a long way to go for the Terrorblade to actually threaten xGame, but if this keeps up, it might very well happen.
And also the fact that Magnus is going for this more of a battle build means that Bignum by himself is going to struggle to deal with that Magnus by himself. So that's not really a good situation for Brewmother B. And he's going to feed over a lot of extra gold towards FN, killing off a whole slew of spiders there with just one shockwave. And well, Bignum has to be careful about that as well. It's like all these small things that xGame can do to end up giving up their lead, they're pretty much doing. Giving away kills, giving away free spiderlings. The only thing they're not doing is giving away free towers, but I mean, that's probably not going to happen for a long time, but it still is possible. Xantic, if they're holding their ground right now, yeah, they're a racks down, but if they cross their fingers and hope for xGame to make more mistakes, then they do have a shot of coming back into this. It's a long one, though. I mean, the item center is up on Ancient Apparition. That's a comeback item right there. Plus, they have a Terrorblade who's still getting a hell of a lot of farm. He has almost the Eye of Scotty, so it's not impossible to see Xantic recover from this, but if xGame just stop doing stupid things like they have been doing recently, then they'll be just fine.
What do you think of just Terrorblade skill builds in general? I mean, no points into reflection at the moment. Stats are definitely nice for survivability and everything else, but is it worth it to just get at least one value point into reflection, or is it kind of useless?
I think this is a game where I would actually go max out reflection. You're up against a Tiny and a Brew and my god, Brewmaster. There's a Brewmaster and a Broodmother, but taking an illusion of Tiny, that hurts like a lot. Like 70% reflection damage, dude. Sign me up. That is
you
going to
get
be
the auras
wrecking
as well,
people all day.
right? So you would have the AC aura for a little while at least.
Yeah. Just at least get one. It's a slow. Who says no to a slow? Seriously.
I mean, I guess in this game he's been like, I'm more like the split pushing types because he cannot really fight into them, not yet. So maybe that's one of the reasonings behind that, but I still think one value point would have been just excellent for it. But another Ice Blast comes out, and xGame, to be honest, for the past couple of minutes, they haven't really accomplished all that much before. They were taking towers, they were just getting kills. Suddenly, it's put to a complete stop, but Mantis does finish up a meta style in the meantime. There's going to be a Shiva's card on Stalcat also. So they are still getting stronger. I mean, of course, they have free Hand of Midases running, so even if they die, their farm will never completely stop.
Yeah, I mentioned those things that xGame are doing to let Xantic back into the game. They have to be doing a lot more of it, just because of how far ahead they inherently are. With those Midases just ticking away, like even Reeves has a freaking Ghost Scepter now, so Lion's gonna be pretty difficult to kill, and he'll be dishing a level 2 finger, and he's level 13, almost 14. Level 3 Finger of Death is incoming shortly. I have a feeling that xGame are not gonna really feel comfortable making a play until they have another Aegis. Don't really know when that's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure they'll be able to take it. Xantic, even if they smoke up, go straight for it. Bignum, his ability to both split push and reinforce the Roshan fight is not something that Xantic can really deal with effectively.
So Xantic, they definitely have a pretty hard time. I mean, that one being one racks behind, and it's the top lane as well, the most annoying to push out just because it's the farthest from Roshan, for example. But the Terrorblade now, he is getting, well, I wouldn't say huge just because the Tiny is still about 7k net worth ahead of him. But he's getting in tier 2 down now, so he's making more things happen. But what is the most preferred item choice for him next?
Man, he's just so far behind in his item choice, it really doesn't matter. Butterfly is going to be really nice up against these right clickers, and I think that's probably the best item choice, but he's also going to have to consider a BKB just so that he can fight up against Craggy Exterior. So, you know, pick one of those two. I think you're probably going to be golden, but he's not going to have that much time to farm just because if xGame were checking right now, they would know that Roshan can be easily claimed. They might have the courier spot that one out. So for xGame, luckily for them, it's going to be one of the shortest Roche respawn timers. And well, Xantic, they just want more time at this point, and that's going to be a little bit unlucky for them.
Well, to be honest, if they knew about it early enough, they could still contest it. Ice Blast into Roche Pit, followed up by a reverse polarity, which I don't think we've seen for a pretty long time by now, but the Magnus with Battle Fury finish, the Shadow Blade, he's hitting for about 250 damage and of course cleaving for 50% as well, so Battle Magnus must not be underestimated, even has his double damage rune bottled up. So one nice reverse polarity might still win them a fight. But man, it's just this Tiny, he is so damn beefy. As the Tiny though, do build into a Satanic to go for a Butterfly of your own, or maybe a BKB to play it extremely safe.
I'm pretty sure you just go straight damage here, try to get strength going, so maybe a harder Satanic as you said, Getting your illusions a little bit bulkier is going to be useful for xGame's game plan, which seems to be just split pushing all day long, so Mantis style illusions going to help out a little bit in that regard. Having the Aegis, though, makes the item slots a little bit full for Mantis, so he's going to be holding on that decision for as long as he can, getting more hand is Midas value, but they jump into the Roshan pit, they take the Aegis, and really there's nothing that Xantic could do. They're a little bit too far away, first of all, and pretty sure they just don't want to get in there in general, so now xGame, they have a chance to make a play. It looks like a tier 2 tower mid is going to be an easy objective, and it probably will be. In the meantime, split push from the Terrorblade maybe is going to slow things down, but I don't really know if Xantic are prepared to defend this push, let alone the subsequent one.
Well, it's definitely going to be hard, especially since Bridon, I mean, he's always going to be on the bottom side of things. I mean, Phoenix with a Icarus dive as well as Fire Spirits definitely kills the spiders pretty fast, but both of those spells are extremely long cooldowns, and oh god, they find one hero, Ancient Apparition, and without the Ice Blast, suddenly defending is going to be even harder than it normally would have been.
That is, next to RP, their best tool at defending. I don't really know why the Ancient Apparition was there, but he was, and he shouldn't be there. Brewmaster at this point, he's got to be careful because he can very easily die to this Terrorblade, but in the meantime, going to be a jump in towards FN. No RPs in this fight either. He hasn't no buyback. Broodmother and Brewmaster doing a pretty good job at zoning out the entire team. Now Mantis can go straight towards Bad. There's a Sunder to worry about. Stallcat will have to deal with that. There it is. But Bad's going to get beaten down regardless. The Pudge is going to get shredded in the meantime. The sun will explode, stun everyone, but Bigdom's going to jump right in, assassinate Bad, and kill him off in the end. Icarus Dive going to do nothing except get the Phoenix stunned upon return. A couple more right clicks. He's silenced. He's going to go down. Buyback from the Phoenix. There's also buyback from the Terrorblade. By the time that happens, they're going to be facing Mega Creeps. It's over.
Yeah, that fight was just Ancient Apparition. Like I said, no idea what the hell he was doing there. Ancient Apparition always, you want to be as far as the fight as you can unless you have a Hex or something in your inventory. But the farther you are, the bigger the Ice Blast. But being at the tier 2 at such a time, no idea. Maybe he wanted something from the side shop, no clue, but just a slight mistake and ended up paying. Of course, I don't think they would have won the game anyway, but now they just kind of gave away their only fighting chance. And of course, nice blink hex onto the Magnus as well as he was trying to go into the mid lane from the bottom.
Yeah, so don't really know what the Ancient Apparition was doing there. Usually you're just in the fountain, like literally in the fountain, so you get a larger AoE, but not having that just means xGame collapsed way too hard. The gold advantage was a little bit too high, and even though Xantic had, a couple of nice plays with the Phoenix Sun, with the Terrorblade getting a hell of a lot of farm, it just wasn't enough to compete against 3 heroes getting a ton of farm. So that's going to be it for game 1, but this is a best of 3.
Yeah, so we're going to head into game number 2's lobby straight away. Probably the game will be starting in a couple of minutes time, guys, so I appreciate it that you came. Hopefully you enjoyed the game as well as the cast, and if you did, you can follow HeflaTV for more content, of course. All the necessary links will be below the stream, so check those out. It's HeflaTV everywhere anyway, more or less. But as I say that, we're going to head into game 2, like already mentioned, and just see you there.